as well. Oh,
I really think that was it was a great thing to have a guy like Dick Berggren at the racetrack because, as we all know, Roseville's having a few issues over there and trying to keep the doors open. But I'm going to tell you, Dick Berggren single-handedly has kept a number of racetracks open all over this country from all over the place.
Well, I had lunch with Dick and my friend Renee Bracken, and he talked about the importance of a hug.
Yeah. You know, it was, I told you guys, and I think I even mentioned it on the show last week, that if I got the chance to meet Dick Berggren, and even with Michael Waltrip coming to town and all the rest of these stars, that my weekend would be complete. And, you know, my weekend was probably complete 20 minutes after we got over to the racetrack practicing on Friday afternoon.
Why is that?
Dick Berggren showed up in our pit area, and, you know.
Bill McAnally's pits, BMR.
Yeah, and as you can see on Marc's Facebook, there was some photos with all of us in the team.
Yeah.
But the real excitement came on Saturday, Marc. That was the real excitement.
Well, I had lunch with him. Like I say, he talked about the importance of a hug. Yeah, I heard you had lunch with him. What did you guys talk about?
Well, I didn't quite necessarily get the chance to have lunch with him.
Well, Roger Bracken made some chili with some big old chunks and some cornbread.
Yeah.
And I never pass up food. I really like food.
Well, you know, I was standing there in the pit area working on those BMR cars and trying to get them fast and having pretty good success at getting them fast. And then all of a sudden I was tapped on the shoulder, and this gentleman with an ever so famous hat on.
Yeah, he has one of them driving derby hats, like a can go, like he's from the hood.
Yeah,
that's cool.
He asked me if I would step into the trailer and have a conversation with him for a few minutes, and we actually went in the trailer, and the conversation started out with some talk about Super Dirt Week, you know, the largest dirt event from the Northeast where I started.
Where's that?
Up in Syracuse at the Moody Mile.
Syracuse, New York.
Big block and small block modified stuff, and I'll tell you what, to have a guy like that and talk about some people we had in common was really cool.
I bet.
It was really cool, but Dick then got the chance to talk to me a little bit about Speedway Illustrated magazine, and Speedway Illustrated magazine is a publication that's put out by Dick and a bunch of guys, and
I read it cover to cover. I really find it in the shitter. That is really, it spends my time very well.
Well, they try to tell everybody how to make it faster, cheaper, and safer.
Oh yeah.
And he congratulated me on my Crew Chief of the Year award. And
Crew Chief of the Year, 2013, Racin Jason. That's what I came for.
And he asked me to weigh in my 2 cents once a month.
2 cents, bro. You got way more than that. Come on now.
He asked me to weigh in my 2 cents once a month and try to help people
once a month
all over
in what?
In his magazine.
Really?
Yeah, he wants me to put together a little 400-word column once a month and try to help everybody all over the country go a little faster.
I know I can fill an article of 400 words. Can you?
Oh, I might be able to. I'm not sure. Especially if they get me going on one of them tangent things. Boy, I can get a little out of control.
I know what
sometimes.
a tangent is. Tangent. Can you spell tangent?
Yeah, so that's going to be really cool. So it was an honor for me to get the chance to meet him.
Yeah, that's one of those things for 2013, brother. I knew it was going to be epic, and we started off with a late model and a couple modified drivers. That's definitely not how we're ending the year. And
no,
to have Mr. Berggren give you this offer to write part of his magazine, man.
Yeah.
Definitely do yourself a favor and subscribe to Speedway Illustrated, Dick Berggren's magazine.
Yeah, it was really cool to have him around. He got the chance to meet Sheldon Dininger, the 2013 Rookie of the Year, and it was kind of funny. I am idolizing this guy and get the chance to meet him. I bring him around our pit area and made sure that I was fair to all of my crew and introduced them one at a time and got him to shake his hand. And one of my crew members actually said to me when we were all done, he said, "Who's Dick Berggren?"
Who's that? Who's that?
Justin was a little out of control, right? Yeah, Justin was a little out of control.
It's your job to educate him.
I know, but you don't think you need education.
Still wet behind the ears.
You don't think you need education with a guy like that. But it was really cool, and I had a great time. I had a blast.
Yeah, he let me know that he won in every level of racing and one of every kind of car.
Right.
And then he also gave us a great plug and to let us know how fortunate we were to have that facility as far as in Roseville, the All-American Speedway.
Yeah.
So I really was to have him come out here. He said he made a point to make a trip to 2 new tracks every year.
Right.
And to just have him choose ours as one to stop by.
Right.
And I know Circle Track Magazine was in Stockton earlier this season.
Right.
So to have Dick bring his Speedway Illustrated to Roseville,
right.
That's got to be great coverage for Northern California.
And hopefully the people that are involved here will take the advice of a man like Dick Berggren and you and I are trying to do our part with this show, and
this is our part.
If we can take them and take those great ideas from a man like Dick Berggren and put them in place, maybe we'll have a great place to go racing for the rest of the time.
Oh man, I know there might be some threat of Ocean Speedway. I got a text from somebody, Mr. Tilford said there's some kind of local committee in Watsonville want to shut down the Ocean Speedway. So if you live there in Watsonville and you appreciate sprint car racing, they might going to have some kind of town hall meeting or a council meeting. Make sure you support the Ocean Speedway as well. I wanted to at least give that a plug as well.
Yeah.
So then let's get on to the top story of the storyline going in. The top storyline, you and I both admired Mr. Michael Self.
Yeah, wow. Check out Michael Self and that number 21 Golden
I thought
Gate
they should
machine.
wave the blue and yellow flag at him. Shouldn't he had just pulled over?
Wow, boy, I'll tell you what, when he had got put there to a lap down and he raced
Well, he
his way.
bobbled really bad, I think is what it was.
Yeah, they put him a lap down. Boy, he came back up there to the front, and he gave Eric Holmes and Derek Thorne more than they ever expected they were going to get from a lap car. That was pretty cool.
Self finished 4th.
Yes.
That was a very impressive.
At one point, he was 2 laps down.
Wow.
I mean, he raced his way back to the front, and he gave Thorne more than Thorne ever imagined he was going to get, I think, from a lap car. And he got lucky. The caution came out, but it paid off, and he ran that thing back through the field. It was really cool to watch.
The other storyline would be Dylan Hutchins qualifying in his new
Wow.
team, Mike Dank.
Wow, over there with the Nake Motorsports car, Dylan really put some numbers on the board this week, and it was pretty cool. And at lap 30 of the race, the fastest lap of the race was ran, and it was actually put down by that number 88 team. So
well, I know he had a chance to race with some other team earlier in the season, and those cars were very nowhere near comparable to Mr. Nake's
not
cars.
at all. And well, I think if you're going to go racing at the K&N level, there are not a lot of teams that can say they have comparable equipment to what Mike Nake has over there.
Mike Nake Motorsports.
Yeah,
Nake Shocks.
So he it was really cool to watch that, and another storyline you could say was Michael Waltrip being in town, and I'm going to tell you what, Dylan gave him quite a run for his money there for quite a while. They were door to door and side by side, so that was pretty cool to watch.
And then Patrick Staropoli, am I saying that correct?
Yeah, Staropoli. I got the chance to meet Patrick on Friday night because he was actually driving one of the late model cars of the BMR team that I had paired up with. Dwayne Knorr, great guy over there. He was doing some crew chiefing, but they were kind of limited to what they could do, so Patrick and Dwayne kind of turned that late model car over to me, getting it ready for him on Saturday, and I think we did a great job. He did really well, and but Patrick, I think in the future he's going to be somebody to contend with.
For those that aren't familiar with Patrick Staropoli, he won the Peak Performance Challenge. It was a video contest where you made a video and you submitted it to the Peak Antifreeze, and you got a chance to go on to like some kind of driver.
Yeah, it was sort of like they were going to do a fast track, send you to a driving school. That right after he won that deal and he did his first school back in Charlotte, they gave him a chance to start a BMR car up in Portland, I believe it was,
right.
or up at one of those tracks. It's pretty cool to watch him. He had a top 5 finish up there, and he had a pretty strong top 5 run going over here on Saturday night.
He's a smart character. He's a graduate from Harvard Medical School, of course, and now he's going to med school and doing his internship in Florida.
Yeah, and he was a really cool kid. We got to see him when we did that Michael Waltrip deal at Reeves last week. Yeah. He was pretty cool. But he was cold. You remember, he's from Florida.
Yeah, he's from Florida.
So I need a jacket.
It was 5 o'clock in the morning in Rockland, and we were all a little. I mean, I even had pants and socks on, and that's not like me to usually have pants and socks on.
Yeah, he was pretty cold. So, but him and his father, they were a great bunch of people to work with this weekend. So
very nice
really
to
cool.
meet them, man. I'm glad that you had a chance to come out here in Roseville.
Yeah.
And the other storyline definitely would be Thorne and Holmes battling back and forth for about.
Wow.
Well, it was about 20 laps. I went back and reviewed the film. Thorne had it, but Holmes came up about lap 20 and battled on for another 120 laps side by side.
Yeah,
some of the best. Yeah.
Eric never gave up there, and Thorne never gave him an inch. It was pretty wild to watch those two going at it.
I don't know how advantageous it was, man. I think they both wore out their stuff.
I know there was one cat that had that deal figured out, and that was that number 24 Gene Price car sitting back there just waiting. And
yeah, Cameron Haley showed a real great patience.
I had the chance to work with Cameron. With Bill McAnally a few years back, and it was his very first K&N race, and we led most all that deal. Cameron got out to an early lead. We might have used up our stuff like those guys did, but 5 laps to go, Eric Holmes, he just drove around the outside and went on to win. But it was a lot of fun. It was great to see Cameron. He won at the Battle of the Beach in Daytona earlier in the year.
Yes, we all watched
it was pretty cool to see that he waited his turn, and he didn't get impatient. He just waited his turn and got it going on.
All right, we'll have Sheldon doing a camera photograph. Make sure you hit the red button again to keep the video rolling after you take the still photograph. Please bear with us. I got to get some film for this for myself. So do we have a caller, man? Are we going to make a call?
Yeah, we've got a couple callers tonight, but, kind of sit on that K&N deal.
All right, we'll go back to that. But, the following weekend, man, I know we have Ukiah, Eric Ray. Eric Ray went up to Lakeport last weekend. He was so disgusted with the authority, with the officiating. the brake check in and,
Yeah.
and stacking the field up. He pulled off the track. He's never done that. With 6 laps to go, he was quite perturbed with the way the proceedings went in Lakeport. But he's on his way up to Ukiah, and then I hear you got somewhere else to go this weekend.
Yeah, we're gonna take this fancy Morto tequila machine here, and
is it tequila time?
Yeah, it's tequila time, but we're going to take this fancy Morto tequila car, and we're going to take Dave Campbell, and we're going to go up and see what we can do.
Dave Campbell, Authority Heating and Air.
Yeah, Authority Heating and Air, great driver. If we can get Sheldon to send Dave a text message and let him know, and we
should
can
Dave be here already?
Dave's son actually is having a birthday this weekend, and we're going to go racing.
There is more in life to go in racing, dare I say. It's about the family, man. Anytime you have a chance of family functions.
But Dave and the family are out at a family function, and he really wants to be a part of this show. So we're going to try to get him on the line here, and if Sheldon can get him a text message, and we can do
meanwhile,
something.
Morto Tequila.
Morto Tequila.
Life, death, tequila.
So that's some good stuff right there.
Yeah, I like the gold better than the clear.
Yeah.
But tequila, Morto Tequila comes in a gold. And a clear.
So while we're taking the chance here to plug our sponsor, Morto Tequila, we can't forget the rest of the people that help us get here.
Autosmog.com, Roseville Autosmog, Greenback Autosmog, and San Juan Autosmog.
Yeah, we really got to thank John and the crew over there. They're a great bunch of guys. You know, we got H&L Towing.
H&L Towing, man, we're piggybacking their Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but you know what? H&L Towing bought us food today, man.
Yeah,
so that was really cool. It
was really cool.
That was really cool.
I come for the food.
So we got to thank Terry. Terry Deal at Economy Heating and Air.
Real deal.
You know, he's been a big supporter of the show since we decided we wanted to start this deal.
Definitely.
We got OMG Yogurt on board.
Yes.
And, you know, we've actually, Mark and I are working pretty diligent at it, but we've had quite a few people that have wanted to sponsor our show. We're trying our best to get everybody.
Whose telephone's not on quiet? Oh, it's the Dutchman. You're fired.
We're trying to get everybody, we're trying to get to everybody and make you all the right deals. So
we had a Facebook post this evening, and we're going to give away tickets on our Facebook. Somehow we'll have some kind of contest and stuff. Yeah. And then before I left the house, I was at 101. We get here, and you said 100.
Yeah, we're almost 140. I think we're like 136 or something like that.
So thank you, everyone, for tuning in and supporting us on Facebook. You watch my MTFX graphics videos on YouTube and on my Facebook page as well. And now you can check us out on Facebook on the high side.
Yeah, so...
Sheldon Dinger, our executive producer, has given us some cues. He's still new at this, too. What was that, sir? We have 12 people watching. Thank you, 12 people.
So let's...
12's a good number.
Hey, 12's a good number.
That's Terry Deal's number.
Yeah, we got the number 12 here in the shop.
All right, so what are we getting? We got Eric Holmes coming on yet?
So what about Dave? Were you able to get a hold of Dave?
All right, if not, we can go over the weekend.
Let's go ahead and call him. Let's go ahead and give Dave a call and...
Go ahead. And meanwhile, the Legends class, Jeremy James Woods finishes first. Ricky Schlick, finishes second. Logan Zappa finishes fifth. Derek Copeland, great to see Derek Copeland back in the car, finishes sixth. Mangini finishes seventh. And Chase Magic finishes eighth. In late model division, James Bickford. Fast time and match fast time was Kyle Cotillo with a 13.798. Bickford wins. Bickford always wins, man. That boy's got big feet. Big feet. Feet.
Hello?
Is this Dave Campbell?
Dave Campbell.
Dave, is this Dave Campbell? Can you hear us, Dave Campbell? Dave, can you hear us? Oh, Dave hung up on us. That's not going to happen. He'll get fired. He'll be looking for a new ride.
Meanwhile, the results of the K&N race was Cameron Haley was first. Derek Ford finishes second. Eric Holmes finishes third. Michael Self fourth. Craig Pursley fifth. Patrick Staropoli and a strong sixth place finish for Patrick. Hutchinson seventh. Golovic eighth. And my buddy Lewis Tyrell finishes 10th. Michael Waltrip comes home in 20th. I guess he broke a transmission.
Yeah, he had a transmission problem early in the race there.
All right, well, parts are parts, man. We'll try to come back and try it again next time.
Yeah, he'll be back, I'm sure.
Hello?
Is this Dave Campbell? Dave, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hey, Dave, can you hear us?
Hey, Lucy.
No habla. Goodbye.
Dave, can you hear us? We can't get a hold of Dave. We're having some difficulties with the phone. So we'll get Sheldon working on that.
All right. Okay, the following weekend, once again, takes us up to Ukiah for a bomber bash and takes you off to Shasta.
Yeah, we're going to go off to Shasta. We're going to be a part of their late model. The PCS late model series is going to be up there along.
Pacific Challenge Series.
with Jeff Monroe and the boys from over at PRS on them
Gary
10-inch
Quigley
tires.
and Eric Schmidt, number 05.
Yeah, the Narrow 5 car. I think they're leading the points right now. If they're not, they're really close to it.
Gary Quigley and Eric Schneider put a mean piece together for Eric Schmidt to do his thing.
Yeah, they really do. Big Eric, he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah,
he's
Schneiderized.
He's a pretty smart guy. So we're going to go over and see what we can do out there. We're looking forward to it. Going to get Team Eclipse back out on the racetrack, and hopefully it goes as well as planned.
Well, just to spread our market share, go out there and get some more exposure for Morto Tequila and MTFX up in Shasta. I know it's not necessarily our demographic, but I hear great things from that. Everyone that goes up there and races have a great rapport. We're well received, and you guys usually have a good time.
Yeah. While we're waiting for Dave Campbell, or if we could get the phone issues fixed, we talked a little bit about Patrick Stapoli in that Peak Performance Challenge. We actually have one of the crew members who's a good friend of ours. He was here. We could bring him on a little bit to talk about Stapoli.
Who crewed with Patrick?
Our Morto guy, Dave Hansen.
No, Dave don't know how to wrench.
He did.
I thought he knew how to sell tequila.
Well, I don't know. I don't even know if he's any good at that, but we're going to try.
Well, here we go again.
Here we go. Let's get Dave Hansen in here and see if he'd like to talk a little bit about
tequila.
How are you today, Dave?
Things are good. What can I do for you
Is it tequila time?
It's always. It's always tequila time.
Let me get you a shot.
I appreciate that.
So I know you got the chance to work over in the BMR camp this week in the K&N side, and I got the chance to work with Patrick in the late model a little bit. Tell us about how your experience with that young man was in the K&N car.
First of all, hats off to Bill McAnally and the whole BMR race team. Unbelievable guys. Patrick Staropoli, unbelievable kid. Graduate at Harvard, going to law school. Badass in a race car.
Yeah, he was pretty.
He drove the Morto car last weekend, drove the wheels off it. Just blessed to be a part of your show, their show, and BMR, of course.
And talk to us a little bit about the sponsor that you guys put on my late model car for us to go racing there with Patrick.
Well, you gentlemen were kind enough to let me bring some world-class award-winning tequila. And hang on, it's tequila time. That's good juice.
That's good stuff.
That's good juice.
That is good juice.
And he gave us the opportunity to come on board and do something really exciting with one of BMR's cars that you were running, and it turned out really well. I was really proud of the graphics from MTFX Graphics.
Of course, right. The fastest vinyl in the West.
And the car looked great. The crew did a great job. I'm not worthy. You guys are my heroes.
Thank you very much for that. And we really enjoyed working with. We really enjoyed having that Morto Tequila sponsorship. Follow me from the modifieds here in our garage over there to Bill McAnally's, and thank you for giving us that opportunity.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate everything you do for me. You out there in internet land, get to your store, get some Morto Tequila, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
All right, Dave. Thank you very much for being a part of our show.
God bless you guys.
And Ralph Bailey, too.
Yeah, don't forget Ralph. Ralph's a great guy and helping us out a lot. So Sheldon tells me to try giving Dave a call here again.
I know, and then last week, we had some difficulties, or we had some breaks in the action, and we do apologize for that. We're doing on something a little freebie, little trial air thing. So every half an hour we might lose you. We will be back. There's nothing wrong with your connections. There's nothing wrong with your internet connection. We'll be back momentarily. Once if it goes black, we'll be back for about a half an hour or so. If we go back again, we'll probably follow up a little bit more, 15, 20 minutes. I hear chiming. We're chiming in.
We got some chimes going on. Sheldon, come over here and open this thing for us and get Dave on the line. Everybody, Sheldon Dininger right there. He's trying not to sneak in, but that's your 2013 Rookie of the Year right there.
And this show is going to evolve, man. We'll get better, I promise. This is only the round 2.
We can hear it a little better here. Let's see what we got going on.
One more time. Take 3.
Hello?
Hey, Dave Campbell, can you hear me?
Fellas, you're having some technical issues.
We can hear you, but
can you hear us at all, Dave?
I can hear him, boys. So,
put him on speaker.
Dave, can you hear us now?
I can't hear him in the headset.
Hey, Dave. Dave, can you hear us now? Nah, Dave hung up on us. We're having some problems here. So let's just move on in the show. We gotta, as we know, we talked a little bit about All-American Speedway.
Yes, we did.
And some things that are going to be happening out there this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone knows this, but it's the Vintage Classic, man. The WCRA the old timers, the men that made our sport what it is, the guys that had
Yeah.
lap belts and leather helmets and,
Yeah,
and big forearms because there were no power steering.
Yeah, the really cool stuff, man.
Yeah, and that's where it takes me back to where I started. 1974. We were still racing hardtop super modifieds at the San Jose Speedway. Excuse me, San Jose Speedway on the 1/3 paved mile or quarter mile. And
So let's take this chance right now to bring in one of our special guests.
we have another special guest in the studio.
Yeah. Where is our friend?
He's ready for his cue.
Where is our super modified driver buddy? We were out there today, Mark. We got to tell these guys we met some really cool old gentlemen out there today. EJ, he was a cool old boy.
EJ Nolan?
I think that was his name, man.
Old
that guy, he told us some cool stories.
Card.
But I think our guest is ready here. So come on in, Dutchman. We'd like to welcome
Dutchman
you.
von Richards.
Yeah. Come on in, take a seat on the tire right here, and let's kind of
love it. Motorsports show, we need time.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what's going on at the racetrack this weekend.
Well, they have the big vintage show this weekend. It's a lot of fun. The California Auto Museum has a car out there this week.
Dick Berggren was mentioning that he's building a museum, and he didn't know that the California Museum was in Sacramento.
Yeah.
He was going to come back here in a month to make sure he came by and saw that facility.
Yeah.
Well, it was the Town Museum, and it's been taken over, and they actually have one of my champ cars there.
Cool.
Really?
Yeah, it's very, very cool little place. They're doing a big dirt show over there.
Cameras right there for us, bud.
Hello.
That's all good.
So everybody's really excited about the new museum. I think they're spending like $22 million.
Wow.
Renovation of it. So
wow.
It's a pretty big thing for them. So
wow.
we're excited here in Sacramento.
Well, that's really cool. A lot of you don't know that the Dutchman, he's been doing this sport for a while. We got the chance to go out and see his race car, but I met this gentleman a few years back at Roseville, and one thing that kind of sticks in my memory every time I see that car is I looked inside the cockpit of that car, and there's a $100 bill taped inside the cockpit of that car. Yeah, and I asked him, I said, hey, why you got a $100 bill taped inside your race car, man? He said, because somebody once told me that that's the cheapest piece I'll ever put on this thing. And tell him a little bit about that.
Yeah, cheers to that. Realistically, it is, anytime you went somewhere, if you got out for $150, you'd be like wiping your eyebrow, thank God. But no, it's $150 on anything is cheap on those cars.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I mean, you guys... Oh, my goodness. Cheers to everybody tonight and to your radio show. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Only on the internet can we do this. It's just wonderful.
It's a good juice.
It is. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Stuff. Well, so I know you got a lot of friends out there, and we got to meet somebody. As part of our show here, we're trying to give everybody the chance to plug their own little part and show us what your piece of the racing world is. And I've seen some pretty interesting things out there at the racetrack today. Would you tell our listeners and kind of tell them a little bit about your business and what you do?
Well, let's talk about the cars that are out there. In a historic sense, when you see these cars out there, you're seeing the evolution of motorsports. You're seeing some of the cars that will be in the museum, the California Auto Museum. You're seeing full steel body cars modified with actual car frames.
Right.
They're open wheel cars. But they're starting to merge away from the stock car, and this is what's fascinating to me. Eventually, they're going to run out of 32 and 35 Ford frames.
Right.
So they're going to allow them to start using box tubing, and so you see that evolution all going on there, which is kind of cool. And eventually, they'll just go to 80 inches of box tubing, and then eventually they'll say, forget the box tubing. Let's just build a race car. And
that's what happened in San Jose. We Super Modifieds had the 2x4 rear frame rails, and that was mandatory for the Jalou cars or anything else that Sargents built back then.
Right.
They had the tube chassis above the 2x4 box chassis.
And that was because they were running out of 32 to 35 Ford frames in the wrecking yard. So they thought they would help them save money. When does making a change ever save people
they're
money?
Modified. Okay, but Dutchman, they're modified, so you would think that the evolution of the sport would apply to a modified with a little bit of leniency in the rules. But so anyway.
Well, when you look at a modern super modified, does that even look like a car? I mean, they don't even. The motor is like in a separate zip code. Come on,
I just want to be able to race on those big slick tires that we use.
I know you guys
are skinny treaded ones.
You guys are jealous of our tires.
I know. I am from upstate New York, where super modifieds are a big thing hang back at the Steel Palace in Oswego and
Oh,
places like
my
that. Boy, we
God.
have a lot of fun with those cars back there. But
I get
like you
chills
said,
when you start talking about Oswego. I mean,
that's the
oh,
place,
you
man.
know,
That's-
I had an opportunity to work in Indy Lights, and I was told by some of the IndyCar mechanics that these guys here will have, they're from Europe will go to Oswego and
Right.
look at those cars, and they can't believe that Americans build those in their garages.
I
mean,
know,
they're
it's
just
really
so
cool.
sophisticated.
Well, Dutchman, it's 7:25. Our executive producer is asking us to take a break to give us a little bit of a test session. We'd love to come back with you after commercial break, so don't go anywhere.
All right.
We'll let Sheldon give us a quick little break, and we'll be back.
Tempo.
All right, thank you.
And we're on the high side with the Dutchman.
Yeah.
And Racin Jason.
And Marky T. How
And
we
Marky
doing here,
T,
boys?
man. How devastating can a white boy be? My name is Mark, but you call me T.
So let's get back to talking here, and I think that
West Capital Racing Association.
Yeah,
We're here in the
yeah.
All-American Speedway for this weekend for a 3-day show, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the All-American Speedway. The vintage midgets, hardtops, and super modifieds, man. They started the whole, they are the pioneers of our sport, and I greatly appreciate them bringing these cars out here for us to see the evolution of our sport and,
Yeah.
and where it all came from, man. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. Sir.
I see that you brought a couple guests here to our shop with us today. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about who you brought with us?
Well, we brought the legendary E.J. Dolner in. Now, E.J.
Dolner.
Yes, E.J. Dolner has won 15 championships. He's with some of the biggest car drivers in the country. One of my heroes, of course, was the late Jimmy Gordon. In 5 years of racing, he won four California State Racing Association championships and was Rookie of the Year. So obviously, in 5 years of racing, he did very well.
Wow. Incredible.
He actually was at the 1 mile track at Sacramento and almost won the first time he went out in 69. 1970, he went out there, was driving for Leonard Foss.
69, I was just a baby boy.
You weren't even born.
No, I was born
You're too
69.
young and handsome.
No, 69, I was
You're too
born.
young and handsome.
No.
But in 1970, he went out there, and the track should have never been ran on, and it was probably, they say, the worst day in North State racing.
Wow.
3 men from Sacramento were all killed in one day. It was they finally stopped the race.
God rest their souls.
Yeah,
You know,
they were all heroes, and actually my number 11 Super Modified from Capital is dedicated to October 25th, 1970. Jimmy Gordon, Ernie Purcell, and Walt Reef.
The pride of Sacramento.
That pride of Sacramento, and of
That's
course,
where we came from.
Yeah.
of course, EJ was there that day. This man has forgot more about racing than people will probably ever know.
EJ is the car owner of Jeremy Haas, the number 7 yellow car, right, out of Marysville Raceway Park.
He could be the owner of anything. That guy's a legend.
All I know, sir, is I would never leave you hanging.
Yeah,
If you had
that
a race car
story-
on the track for us.
That story kind of got to me today.
We make sure I fit in the car. You
Yeah,
get
that's what I was
Yeah,
telling him.
yeah.
I'll fit in the car. You just let me get the chance.
Yeah, nobody's gonna leave a car hanging without me trying to get in there.
Well,
I'll tell you that. Buddy.
Jason drives with one hand. Now, I don't know if that makes EJ happier. Does that make you
Oh,
happy driving with one hand?
Jeremy Haas. Jeremy Haas.
Only if he
Only if he
wins.
wins.
That's
Yeah.
EJ. He only cares about wins. That's it. That's how he got 15 championships. He only cares about wins.
Right. Well, Dutchman, thank you very much for
Thank you,
being a
buddy.
part of our show, and hope that we can help you spread the wealth a little bit. I know before
Well,
you
go to
here-
racecraftproducts.com. There's over 100 videos there, and you're going to see the very first car in the history of the world to ever have a wing, and it was 1958, and it was a super modified.
That's
and
really
it's
cool.
full 15 years before Indianapolis will adopt
Wow.
it and like it. So
Wow.
go to racecraftproducts.com.
And Dutchman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Where did you get that hat?
Yeah.
Well, that's one of our people who supply the bullets. We have Rex Hutchison Racing Engines.
Rex Hutchison Racing.
Yes,
we
and
know them too.
well,
Yeah.
you know, I grew up down the street from Glenn and those guys, and
Imagine
Rex is like my dad. So I go in and say, "Dad, can you build a $50,000 motor for me?" He says, "No, I'll build you a 30." I say, "Okay, boss."
You mentioned to me another sponsor that came on board,
Yeah.
a historical sponsor that supported sprint cars, modified racing in Northern California for years and years and years.
I am so glad that you mentioned it. I'm sorry, you guys, I forgot about this. But
I
yeah,
got you back.
yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Tognotti's Speed Shop, and most of you guys will remember them that have been involved in racing and Tognotti Engineering, and we're trying to get them back in the sport. They came on with the project into the program about a year ago, and then I took the car over and showed them. They said they'd heard of it and they'd seen it, but didn't see it in person. They loved it more, and they said, "We're increasing your sponsorship." So it was a good little stop.
Fulton and West Camino?
It's at actually El Camino and Fulton, exactly.
That's right,
Mhm.
Fulton and West
Yeah.
Camino.
It's a gigantic facility. It's got you go in there and you can feel Don Tognotti still in there. So
Yeah, but don't ask to use the bathroom. That kind of neighborhood, they won't let you use the bathroom with your client.
they want their money. Don't that's how they stay in business. They got to make some money. It's funny because I hear stories about Don. They say, well, he would give you parts for nothing, but he would send you to his company that was already making money on it. So, hey, I've heard people complain about that, but you can't keep the sport alive unless people are making something on it. That's the bottom line.
You can't give it away for free, man. We're all in this business to make money. And I know you do a bunch of the vintage stuff where you own all the patents and the forms and the molds.
Well, we have all of the patterns and all of the molds for the super modifieds. So, your mic is muted. Turn that thing on.
It's up.
Okay.
I'm on.
But
The race car's sitting on it.
but we have
Can you hear me now? Okay, well, I didn't do nothing.
the irony of the whole thing was that like I said earlier, I worked on Indy Lights team, and so I was wings, body, ground effects, and left rear tire changer. So I made my own molds, and I went up to go see this guy about some car parts, and lo and behold, he says, "Well, that Champ car you have, we have the mold to that hood." And I'm like, wow. So we started talking, and he said he owned all the Tognotti molds, and they were getting ready to crush them in Montana.
Oh, my
Wow.
goodness.
So I said, I put a time out on it. I said, let me
Yes.
buy them, and I bought them, and then I had to spend 3 times what I paid for them to restore the molds so we could make parts in them. I don't know how good a deal it was, but it's a passion. Wives out there, girlfriends know, passion will lose us money, but that's, it's racing, right?
Well, I know I wouldn't fit my fat ass in them little sprint cars, but I wonder what.
we can build a car for you. We got a
But I
car.
can imagine sitting on a bucket, driving like a bus, and them old super modified
Well,
having
that's
a.
how the steering wheels
I
are. You
know.
know why the steering wheels are up like that?
Why?
You gotta hang on. No kid, you gotta hang on to that thing. You're bouncing around that dirt.
It was to hang on?
Well, you said you were
Yeah.
40 mile. Now,
Yeah.
when you look at that track up close, that thing has ditches in it.
Oh yeah,
Ditches?
that's good racing, buddy.
Speaking of Oswego, the first time that the Outlaws ran there, Bentley Warren won
Yeah.
in a super modified.
Yes,
And then
yes.
everybody says, well, that's the ticket. And they all came back with them. And then I think
Back in the old days of
Yeah.
Maynard Troyer and
Yeah,
Bud Olson
sure,
and all the good
sure.
old boys back then.
And then there was a guy, I forget his name, Lloyd, Lloyd, and it had invented the staggered wing on the sprint cars. And ever
Right.
since then, the staggered wing sprint cars have
You are
dominated.
just a wealth of education and knowledge, aren't you?
Here's $5, thank you.
Well, Dutchman, thank you very much for being a part of our show, and
No,
we
appreciate your time, Thank
hope
you.
you guys have a great race this weekend. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Can we get EJ on next?
AJ's got to come on. Come on.
I know
AJ.
he's got a story to tell.
Come on, AJ.
EJ's got a story he wants to tell us. I mean, he told us quite a few
Championship
today.
crew chief.
15 championships. What are you going to do? He
Yeah,
got a lot of stories.
yeah,
If you get him started, you're just going to have to call a
I saw
timeout.
4 in a row
right here, sir.
there.
Come on, EJ. Come on
How
over
many
here.
tires have you
Come
sat
over here
on?
and sit on my Goodyear tire.
How many tires have you sat on before? There you go, EJ.
Thank you, thank you.
The
Well,
camera's right there, sir. We're
there
on the
you
internet.
go.
I know it's a little bit before your time, but there's 12 people watching.
You know, EJ, we're just trying to share, a lot of different racing and a lot of different types of racing with a lot of people. We're trying to give everybody their little shot and their 5 minutes of fame to get the world to understand what we're trying to do. And, not as many people are as passionate about race cars as people like Marc, myself, and a guy like you. But if you could, just kind of give us a little overview of what you're hoping to gain by being here at Roseville this weekend and the different types of things that you have. I know you have different cars and stuff. Kind of enlighten us a little bit. Let us get to know EJ.
Well, how old are you, sir?
I was 88 last July.
88 years old.
88.
Wow.
And you still feel the car on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
He's still at the races, 88 years old, and he still feels the car week in and week out. That is admirable.
Well, I have the moral support of my daughter that I brought with me, and my son, and yeah, all I can say is that when I bring the car on the racetrack, there's a lot of guys want to know what's going on, what it looks like, why I'm doing this and why I'm doing that, and so forth and so on. But this weekend, I'm going to help Dave Duncan. I'm going to help Rick out. And that's what I'm going to do this weekend. I'm going to take it easy for a month or so. Really easy. Because I'm getting ready have a heart operation 13th of November.
Wow.
October. No, November, right. But anyway, these interviews are probably something you guys do all the time, I can tell.
No, we're new.
No, this is only our second time.
That's the second time.
But you got to tell us a story today about racing up in Marysville with a couple local drivers. You had one, Jeremy Haas. You had some other Mr. Sherman Jr.
Yeah.
And you want to tell that story? That's pretty funny. It's a moral story, so we want to know about females, I'll say females, in the pit area.
Yeah. Anyway, one thing I'd like to say is that really, you always have a lot of plans for the future, and you always hope that they're better than the ones in the past. And what happens in the past, my daughter was involved with me. She's one of my greatest fans. And when she was involved, where the Silver Crown cars were running in Sacramento with a group, and we took care of the cancer kids.
Okay.
And she had promotions and all kinds of activity at her house. And back at her house, she had a go-kart track. So we had programs over there to raise money for the cancer kids and so forth and so on.
Great cause.
It was a lot of work, but we did a lot of good. And was lucky enough that we collected a lot of money to give away later on when the Silver Crown come.
Very cool.
When the Silver Crown raced in Sacramento, they would take maybe 50, 75 kids, pay their way, treat them, give them what it was. At the time, the Kalispell had a go-kart track, and to let the kids run around the go-kart track. Some of them was always with a name brand driver. We give them pizza, pop, and whatever it was, and then we took them over to the races for Wisconsin.
Very cool.
And, I was always involved in the charitable part because, I see a lot of people in this world, and a lot of them really haven't been as fortunate as I have. And if I can pass on and help somebody out, whether it's through knowledge or money or whatever it is, I'll do what I can. And of course, my daughter, she run this Sacramento chapter, and she did a lot
of?
for the cancer kids.
Thank you, sir.
We got the cancer kids through University of Davis Medical Center.
As an ongoing charity your daughter's involved with now?
She isn't anymore. We kind of let that thing folded up because their program now for take care of the cancer kids is a lot more involved than we have.
Oh. I'm sure they appreciate your contribution. More.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just right now. The little I could do is I donate to a homeless guy now and then that's got a bad eye and stuff like that, and I've got a little money going to St. Jude because that always impressed me. So the time Danny Thomas, the movie star, talked to St. Jude.
I know that we met a couple years back at BMR with your Jeremy Haas car on display, and I got to meet one of your other counterparts, Mr. Ed Watson. Ed had me come on and do some graphics for his '68 Camaro. Really felt privileged the opportunity to do business with him.
Ed was a great guy. I always give Ed a credit because he built the race cars from. He was a good fabricator, a good technician.
Wasn't he a body and paint guy too?
Yeah, he really was.
He had this,
and he went to different people to have his motors built, but in the end, he wanted certain things his way, so forth and so on, and he ended up doing the motors himself.
Yeah, Ed Watson lost his battle to cancer this year, man. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
A great sportsman and racer competitor, and we'll miss him terribly.
Ed was the kind of a guy he was good to race with. His favorite driver was Larry Burton, and of course he had Jimmy Sills and a few other guys in his modified.
Jimmy Sills.
When he was in and out of the super modifieds, his sprint cars. But he was the kind of a guy. Sometimes you love him, next time you want to kill him.
That's just a racer. That's just a racer.
Then when he got weak, why he had a bodyguard.
I need one of those on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was always something. Racers. If you're really racing hard, you're going to get mad because things aren't always going to go your way.
Yes, sir.
And,
Well, I want them to always go my way.
Yeah.
I don't want to be liked by everybody, but I can't win them all.
No, that's
There's
right.
going to be some haters out
Well,
there.
EJ, it's I feel like we're sitting here with a legend. You gave us your business card today with all those championships
Our
on it.
championships, 4
Yeah.
in a row. Was it 69, 70, 71,
Yeah.
72?
Yeah.
4 in
So,
a row.
The sport needs a lot more guys like you that are willing to give the younger guy the chance, and the sport needs a lot more people like that. And I really want to take the opportunity to thank you for what you do for our sport, and this museum that you guys are working on, and thank you for all that you do for our sport.
It was 67, 68, 69, and 70.
I recommend, and I highly appreciate your kindness and so forth and so on. But you know what? This is kind of a joke of mine. Okay, let's say I'm famous. Some guy says I'm famous, but I'm still the same old EJ. Some guy says I'm smart. Yeah, I'm still the same old EJ. Some guys say I'm rich. Yes, I'm just the same old guy. I got $3. But you know what?
Yes, sir.
It's it's a bit to be humble.
It is. It's hard, EJ. I take pride in myself, and I was just named NASCAR's Crew Chief of the Year for the Wheeling All-American Series. And, I couldn't do it without the people around me, but I feel that that's one thing that my grandfather put into me when I was a real young kid is the only way you're ever going to be anything into the sport is be humble. And some days you don't want to be, it's hard, but, you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
I've been around a lot of racetracks and owners and drivers and that, and the proof of the pudding, I think I did give it just as much credit to a guy that runs last as the guy that runs first.
Exactly.
Because I've been in that boat, and I know what it takes to put a car together and so forth and so on. I come out of Omaha, Nebraska.
My relatives came from Omaha.
Were you there?
Get out of here.
What happened is this last year in the Nebraska Hall of Fame, I had a friend of mine that I knew, and he contacted me this year, a couple years ago. I was giving him some help by telephone. He was running a car at Bonneville, finally got up to 200 miles an hour. But anyway, what I was going to say is, he says, EJ, he said, I'm going to put you in for the Hall of Fame for Nebraska. So I sent him a bunch of stuff that I had, so forth and so on. And,
What you got there?
and they turned around.
You got stuff?
Yeah, there's some stuff there. They turned around and whittled it down to 25 guys, and whittled it down to 20. And the last 6 guys, and I was one of the last 6, and they had to pick 5, and I turned out to be the 6th guy.
Oh, shattered
But
dreams.
what really happened was I told my friend, I says, George, why are you so interested in me getting in this Hall of Fame in Nebraska? I really made my mark more when I left Nebraska in the early 50s. And he says, you know what? Me and my friends here in Omaha, the first race cars we ever saw in my life were in your backyard. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And here this guy struggled with a race car, with a car from Bonneville, a 41 Studebaker, for years. And little by little, he finally got to 200 miles an hour.
You know, the boys took the sprint car to the Bonneville Salt Flats this year.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I've seen that. But Mark,
aluminum?
Sheldon's telling us here it's about time to go to another break. So
All right.
thank you very much,
EJ
for being a part of our
Dolner,
show.
you know, sir, thank you for everything you've done for our sport.
And
Really appreciate that.
I want to thank you very much and shake the hand of a legend here. Thank you
We'll
very
come out there
much.
and see you tomorrow night.
I think I'll be here for tomorrow night.
All right.
If they don't put me out in the meantime.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being part of
Thank
our
you very much,
show.
sir. I appreciate it.
Okay. I got this stuff here. I just threw it in the car here.
And you're back on the high side.
With Racin Jason.
And Big Mouth Marc Turnovsky, man. Yeah, this weekend's festivities will be the Vintage Classic for the Super Modifieds and Midgets and Hardtops, the All-America Speedway. The obviously, Tulari's hosting the Trophy Cup, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, we haven't got a chance to do much dirt stuff yet, but times are tough on us here in the pavement world right now. But when we get a chance, we're gonna get down there and give them their due and let them be a part of our show also.
Yeah, I got Scotty Hall in a wingless car. I got Matt Peterson in his wing 360. I know I'm gonna end the season down in Stockton. Thank you, EJ. I'm going to end the season down in Stockton for Turkey Bowl, and I think you and I might do November 2nd date at Stockton
we're
Dirt
really
Track.
looking forward to doing that deal with Mr. Nocetti down there and seeing what we
King
can,
of the West, man,
see what
410s.
kind of trouble we can get in down there, huh?
I know,
But Sheldon tells us he's got us back online here, so let's try to get a hold of Dave Campbell here real
Dave
quick.
Campbell, Authority Heating and Air.
No, he's Morto guy this week.
Oh, Morto, sorry. Morto. And for all your vinyl needs, TFX Graphics.
Hey, Dave, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hey, Dave, can you hear us? Hey, Dave, I hope all of our listeners can hear you out there. But we're just calling, trying to give you the chance to talk to us a little bit about this weekend at Shasta and your number 55 Morto Tequila machine.
Well,
I can't hear.
yeah,
I can't hear words.
let alone race the damn thing, but
Technically speaking.
I know with our Morto Tequila car that we're going to be,
Headset when he's off speaker.
Yeah, why not? I don't know. Is he off speaker?
Hey, Dave, can you still hear us? Dave, can you still hear us? Dave, can you hear us?
This phone call scene tends to be the most
Yeah, we
challenging
seem to be having a problem with phone stuff tonight.
Phone?
So I don't know what's going on with our phone deal here, but let's just go ahead and keep on going with the show. Sorry.
Okay, well then let's go back to the top story, or another storyline at the All-American Speedway this weekend in the late model division. After Jeremy James Woods wins the Legend division, he climbs in the 22 Nascimento late model, goes out there and sets a good time. And then what else was the storyline for the late models?
Kind of the late model deal. The pole in that deal was a 13.79, like you talked about, and Trip Gaylord qualified the BMR car, the number 16 BMR car at 13.88, and you know what? We ended up 7th on the charts with that. And that's
Bickford
how
and
close that
Gattuso
was.
both were 13.798.
Yeah, that was quite a tight field. The cars were really good. They set some fast times and really laid down some stuff. But man, that tire kind of let go on a lot of people. I've heard around and a lot of people talk to me, but we had 3 cars in that show, and we had 3 flat right front tires.
Time.
So
Time.
Those tires really, I don't
American
know.
Racers, I think that's what they
Yeah,
were.
they were American Racer tires. They were a lot thinner on the sidewall and the tread than a lot of the tires we normally run.
Is that going to be part of your article on the Speedway Illustrated?
Yeah, that's one thing we're going to talk about. As many people know, Goodyear has left short track racing as of 2014. There will no longer.
Do you know what you do with 365 used condoms?
Turn it into a Goodyear, huh?
You melt them down, you make a tire, and you call it a Goodyear.
So we're, those tires are gone, and that, a lot of racers, a lot of Saturday night heroes, short trackers all over the country have become complacent with that Goodyear tire on their car. And hopefully, with some tech tips and through some testing and things I've done out here in California, maybe I can share a couple tips and help people get a little bit faster on these different sidewall tires.
So is it going to be the compound? Is it going to be the sidewall flex?
Boy, I think it's a combination of everything, to be honest with you. A lot of people only think that the tread of the tire or the contact patch on the tire is what makes it do what it does, or the slip angle on the tire.
Slip angle, that's a sprint car term.
It makes it do what it does, but really, you got to factor that sidewall in there and hope we can do it. We're hoping to get a little bit better on these softer sidewall tires. We got
so softer sidewall, will that raise the spring rate or lower the spring rate?
Softer sidewalls has actually lowered the spring rate, because the more I get the car onto the tire, the worse it gets. So I have to kind of keep it off there a little bit.
Wow.
We've and roll centers have become a big factor. We've had to move the roll centers a lot on these cars. We've had to lower it a little bit. We've had to move it right a little bit. So there's a lot of things I'm going to share in that new article and kind of put it out there. And we got a great test, a great test of the tires this week. We actually had the newsman running pretty close to the top 10 or top 5 in that deal until we got a flat right front tire. So I was really glad to see Brian Hickey doing as well as he did. And Chip Gaylord, first time ever in a late model car. It was great. But you had some old familiar faces out there running in the front. I mean, Ron Chun and those guys ended up with a flat tire, but Ron was really getting the job done there in the beginning, opening laps of that race.
He started with such low tire pressures. I thought it was 4th of July.
Yeah, he was getting that job done out there, and it was pretty cool to see that he was doing what he could do. And Jason Romero came back out there, and that little boy Bickford, boy, he's really turned the world on over there. So.
I know. Once Chun rolled the dice and rolled a 9, sit Danny Allen on the front row. Yeah. Danny Allen sports Mike Naig Motorsports and MTFX stuff on his car, and Wake Island, a new wakeboard facility outside on Baseline Road, man. If you guys like wakeboarding in a cable park, be sure to go out there on Baseline, man. Check it out.
Yeah, how about little Danny Allen? I mean, he's run great in that deal over there.
Yeah.
You got Bickford. You got a lot of young guns hitting the sport pretty hard in them late model cars, and it's pretty cool to see. We're actually going to try to move Sheldon into a late model car out of our Eclipse Racing modified cars. We're going to move him up next year, and I hope to get that sport back so there's more than 5 or 6. See what we can do. I'm not sure.
Well, Woods, Mangini, Bickford and Allen all came to us from the Legends division.
Yeah, they did, and Jeremy Woods, he really put on a show there all weekend long. He was close to the top of the chart all weekend long. He was really, really good.
Well, I was familiar with Jeremy James Woods back at the Altamont Speedway in back when he raced mini cups.
Right.
Those are years ago.
So, it was it was a lot of fun to see those young guys get it done up there. It got a little dicey there at the last 5 laps of that thing, and the race ended under caution after 3 tries at a green-white checker. But and there was some tempers flying and people putting helmets in other people's window nets, and it got interesting out there on the backstretch, boys.
I know we talked about something else in another segment, where we race on a Saturday night and we're not in front of our TV viewing pleasures, so we have to hit the DVR.
Yeah, man. Well,
what did you DVR? I know what I DVR'd.
The only thing I DVR'd last week to try to get a glimpse of is a good friend of mine and a buddy from back east, Matt Goslin's over there working with Cole Custer. And
Cole Custer?
Yeah, they're running that Haas automated deal. Yeah, 00 car in the East this year. And I had the chance to work with Cole a couple times last year through High Point Racing, my friends down in the South. And, they're Matt and Cole together. They're really putting on a show over there, boy. I got to watch the Loudon race, and Loudon is in my backyard, obviously from being back east. And,
I wish we had a track like that.
And I'm telling you, oh man, that place is the place
make
to
it flat,
be.
Make
right?
it a mile, and let's see what we can go do.
Let's just go do it. So, but Cole really put it on those boys over there. I know you're a big fan of that Krispy Kreme car.
I like that, yeah. Greg Galding, and then a DVR. I think it was the Nationwide race. I'm watching good old Kyle Larson.
Yeah,
he was in his own world up against the fence, pushing the cushion on the high side of Charlotte. There's no cushion there, Kyle. There's just a wall.
Yeah, that's just a wall deal. So, it was. That's kind of where I went with my racing fix this weekend. Having to watch it at home, but I really got to miss the boys. And the whole Super Dirt Week thing, and my phone was going crazy on Saturday, people giving me updates and stuff like that. I really miss it's kind of like old home week up there for Super Dirt Week. It's a lot of fun, but it's the racing out here is going to get better, I think, and we keep doing our part. We're gonna share a little bit and do a lot of things for a lot of people. So.
Yeah, we're trying to say we don't get a chance to. We try dirt race as much as I possibly can. We start the season off with dirt racing. We're going to finish on the dirt track.
Yeah.
Good luck to the boys down in Tulare at the Trophy Cup. Matt Peterson and Scott Hall and all the other drivers.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to give it our best. And
you're going off to.
Yeah, I'm going to go off to Shasta and take a rookie driver up there. I hear there's a pretty stout field of cars coming up. I know the JBR guys are bringing a couple cars out, and I think maybe Rich Lindgren's coming out. I heard through the grapevine.
All right.
And, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's going to be a lot of good cars up there, and it's going to be fun to go racing and see what we can do up there.
Well, throughout the year I do a lot of racing. Sometimes I need a break, man. So I usually kind of schedule one weekend off a month, and this weekend was really slated with nothing to do. So I might take my love and my granddaughter, dare I say, to look at the butterflies.
Hey, buddy, that's something that a lot of people don't understand when you get it's probably tougher to be married to a guy like you or a guy like me than it is to be married to a 9-to-5 businessman.
Yes.
My wife, she puts up with a lot of trash and a lot of late nights and a lot of being gone all the time. And I know that Taffy does the same for you.
Sure
so
does.
It's a difficult thing to be a racer, but you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, I got to hear your story how you met your wife. That was pretty good.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy, but. Getting back a little bit to that K&N race, something we were going to try to talk with Eric Holmes about, but we didn't get to talk about.
Yeah, we were experiencing some phone difficulties. Say it's only our first show. It will evolve. We'll get this phone situation figured out. We will have some more phone-in callers. We'll have some other in-studio guests. And, Jason, we'll just keep plugging away.
That's all we can do, buddy. We got to take this one step at a time and get it to be the best that we can be. But, man, how about Michael Self in that K&N? We talk about all the highlights.
I thought he should got out of the way. I didn't know he was going to battle back.
I didn't think he was going to stick his nose under Thorne there a couple times, but he did it.
And I spoke to Thorne, and Thorne, what's it going to take to get this done? And then same with Holmes, Holmes chose to battle him on the outside and wear his car out.
Yeah, I tell you what, Eric and Derek, they both got everything they could get out of those 2 race cars. It was pretty fun to watch, but it was really cool to see old Cameron Haley sit back there. And
Cabinets by Haley.
Yeah, it was really cool to see that car just sit back there and take its time and wait. So, You know, Mark, here in kind of closing here, we got just a few more minutes of the show going on tonight. Again, sorry about the technical difficulties. We will do what we can to get it fixed for next week. You know, we'll be kind of hard on Sheldon. He's not racing this week, so he's got to fix this phone deal.
Man, he's doing his best behind the scenes to get this to bring this coverage to you guys. We really appreciate your understanding and your patience with us. Say we're new. The show's going to evolve. We're going to have a good time. Things are going to change in the background. Things are going to change behind the scenes, and we'll get this nailed down before.
So one thing we're going to try to do here this week, and it'll get up on our Facebook page, is Team Eclipse is going to have a paintball war. We're gonna set a date here, and we're gonna have a paintball war, but through a little contest or somehow, and me being the owner of Eclipse, I can do this.
Okay.
We need to bring a couple of our viewers, or along.
You're gonna invite them to paintball too.
We need to bring a couple
And
of our
we're gonna
viewers.
shoot against some drivers. We're gonna invite some drivers.
Yeah, we're gonna have some drivers in here.
I'm
we're gonna
extremely
have some,
accurate
We're gonna have a
with a firearm.
graphics guy out there, so
Anyway,
we're
I'm
gonna
a big ass target too.
we're gonna see what we can do to this week we'll put something out there, and here in the last little bit, I'd just like to thank everybody for tuning in and being a part of our show.
Yeah, thanks
Again,
for your support.
Autosmog.com, they're great. John Mamula is great. Terry Deal at Economy Heating and Air, we couldn't do it without you, buddy, so thank you very much.
Dave Campbell.
We got Dave Campbell out there at Authority Heating and Air.
Ralph Bailey, Dave Hansen from Merito
Man,
Tequila.
Merito Tequila, they've really stepped up their deal and becoming part of motorsports, and I really, really, really can't thank them enough
And
for all
of course,
that they
man,
do.
for all your vinyl needs, your banners, signs, embroidery, see me MTFX Graphics.
That's it, buddy. The fastest graphics on the West. So, from all of us here inside Eclipse Racing
Keep it on the high
headquarters,
side.
keep it on the high side, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in.